Some artifacts are like treasures, right? They light up our history and show us where we came from. But others are puzzles that threaten to shatter everything we thought we knew. Today, we're diving into one of those. A piece of parchment discovered nearly a century ago that holds secrets so ancient, they're almost too uncomfortable to face.
So where does this story even begin? Well, it's not in some lost tomb or ancient ruin. Nope. It all kicks off in the dusty archives of a palace, with a task that seemed totally routine, but ended up leading to a find that could change the world.
Picture this. It's 1929. Inside Istanbul's magnificent Topkapi Palace, a museum director is sorting through old documents, and he unrolls a piece of gazelle skin. And what he sees? It just shouldn't be possible. He wasn't just looking at an old map. He was looking at something that defied the entire timeline of human exploration.
And look, this wasn't some myth or a tall tale. This was a real, physical object, discovered by the director of National Museums himself, Halil Edhem. And it was authentic, no question about it. It was signed by the famous Ottoman admiral Piri Reis and dated, clear as day, to the year 1513. On the surface, everything about it seemed perfectly legit.
At first glance, you'd think, wow, what a brilliant chart for its time. You can clearly make out the coasts of West Africa and the eastern side of South America. But then your eyes drift to the bottom of the map. And there, connected to South America, is a huge, detailed landmass with mountains and rivers right where a gigantic sheet of ice should be. It was Antarctica, but an Antarctica without its ice.
And that right there is the central paradox. The map, drawn in 1513, shows a continent that wouldn't be officially discovered for another 300 years. So how on earth could Piri Reis map a land that, according to all our history books, no one had even seen yet? Well, the answer he gave, it only makes the whole mystery even deeper.
See, Piri Reis never actually claimed to be the original creator of this map. In fact, it's his own notes, written right on the parchment, where this story takes an absolutely unbelievable turn. You have to understand, Piri Reis was a big deal. He was a celebrated admiral, a man of science, not some fantasist making things up. He was crystal clear in the map's margins. He didn't draw this from his own voyages. He said he compiled it, piecing it together from fragments of other, much, much older charts.
He even lists his sources. He says he used contemporary maps from explorers like Christopher Columbus. Okay, fine. But then he drops a bombshell. He says some of his source maps were ancient, dating all the way back to the time of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BC. That pushes the knowledge on this map back nearly 2,000 years before it was even drawn.
This just opens up an incredible question, doesn't it? Could this map contain knowledge that was salvaged from the Great Library of Alexandria? I mean, think about it. Knowledge of a world mapped in stunning detail that we all thought was lost to fire and time. What if it survived, just in scattered pieces?
For decades, a lot of people just dismissed the map as a weird curiosity. But then, in the middle of the 20th century, scientific analysis turned this historical puzzle into a geological impossibility.
So, many historians argued that Piri Reis just ran out of parchment and kind of doodled a fantasy coastline at the bottom. But in the 1960s, a professor named Charles Hapgood decided to look at the map not as art, but as data. He focused on one specific part of that Antarctic coast, a region we now call Queen Maud Land.
The visual here is just startling. On one side, you have the map's depiction, a clear, rocky coast. On the other, what we see today, a massive ice shelf. The actual land, the true shape of the continent, is buried under a mile of solid ice. The only way we can see it today is with modern seismic radar, and yet Piri Reis drew it.
Hapgood sent his analysis to the United States Air Force, and the response he got back was a game-changer. Lieutenant Colonel Harold Ohlmeyer confirmed that the map's details were a remarkable match for the seismic profile of the bedrock under the ice. His conclusion was totally unambiguous. The original mapmakers had to have charted this coast when it was free of ice. So, we have an impossible geography. That's pretty wild, but it gets even stranger. The map also contains a level of mathematical sophistication that simply should not have existed in 1513, or even thousands of years before. Just let this number sink in for a moment. 6,000 years. According to geologists, the last time the coast of Queen Maud Land was actually ice-free and could have been mapped by somebody standing on a boat was at least 6,000 years ago. This suggests the original source map isn't just ancient, it's prehistoric.
What's more, the map isn't just a simple sketch.
It's built using a highly complex method called an azimuthal equidistant projection. So what does that mean? Well, essentially, it's a map showing the world as if you were looking down from a single point in space high above a specific center point, which in this case was ancient Cairo.
To create a map like this, you need two things: a mastery of spherical trigonometry and a very precise knowledge of the Earth's circumference. But here's the paradox. That level of mathematics wasn't supposedly developed until the late 1700s. That's centuries after Piri-Reis and millennia after his supposed ancient sources.
So, with this mountain of evidence, impossible geography, impossible mathematics, you'd expect this map to be the centerpiece of every major museum in the world, right? Well, it's not. It's hidden.
We absolutely have the technology to safely display the most fragile documents on Earth. We put the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Declaration of Independence, you name it, in these special, climate-controlled cases so the public can see them. It's standard practice for artifacts this important.
But the Piri-Reis map, an artifact that could literally rewrite history as we know it, is not displayed. If you go to the Topkapi Palace Museum today, you won't find it. It's kept locked away from public view deep inside the archives.
Now, the official reason they give is that the parchment is too fragile. But that just begs the question, why not use the exact same preservation technology that we use for other equally fragile documents? And this has led a lot of people to wonder, maybe the map isn't hidden to protect the parchment, but to protect our comfortable, established story of history. Is it just too dangerous to what we think we know?
In the end, the Piri-Reis map doesn't just ask us to reconsider our history. It forces us to imagine a completely lost chapter of it. It tells us that someone, in the distant past, achieved a level of global exploration and scientific knowledge that was then completely erased. And that leaves us with the biggest question of all. If a civilization was advanced enough to map the entire world 6,000 years ago, what happened to them?